All is mind, the universe is mental, the Kybalion. As you realize that you have everything inside of you, the world exists within you. You are complete inside. You also acknowledge to a higher degree the contents of your mind that shapes your world. It determines how others and experiences show up in your life via the power of your subconscious mind. The world represents what you are both conscious and subconsciously being now, although mostly subconscious, 95% or more. When we consciously encourage new ideas, they become subconscious expressions. This is how we transform our lives. When we encourage the same ideas as before, it remains the same. So it's really up to us to decide what we would like to experience, the same or different or any combination. So now let's talk about how our subconscious is actually on our side, revealing in experience the contents of your mind so you can consciously select how you want to be without any self-condemnation. And then the subconscious mind takes care of everything for you to externalize it. As we apply this information, we accept what we desire as an already established fact in mind, and everything begins to change. For example, let's look at this model here. Above the vision part, it's not on here, consider your formless self, as we discussed in Tuesday's video, awareness. Now, you have a vision, you have a mind, and you can imagine, you can select via your inner speech, or imagine how you see yourself ideally with intention. For example, you see yourself in ideal relationships with others. What does that look like to you? This is what you are doing in secret, which is your mind. And by accepting it as true, by the power of your subconscious mind, environments may change, behaviors may change, and your capabilities are cultivated naturally and effortlessly. That is, if capabilities, or you could say special powers, superpowers, are to be cultivated. Exactly like how we discussed in Tuesday's video. I'll put a link in the description to it if you have not already seen it. It all flows from what you have accepted subconsciously as true by your inner conscious suggestion. So then what? Well, we go about our lives living from the inspiration received via intuition, and observe as you see yourself automatically operating from the vision. For example, I observed my own changes that occurred once I committed to my vision of entrepreneurship in 2009, and I see it play out all throughout the years. And what if doubts show up along the way? How do they play a role? Well, they can't really do anything unless we internally choose to identify with the doubts, because they don't actually stop you from achieving your vision. They never did for me. All they did was, if I subconsciously identified with them, they would create unnecessary suffering along the journey to realizing the vision. So they have no power unless we give them power in mind. See the third layer here? Beliefs. Your beliefs may change on the journey to realizing your vision. For example, I've done many business deals over the years, and in the early stages, they used to be experienced from some subconscious doubt identification, which created unnecessary suffering. For example, I remember one time I walked into a partnership deal with another tech company. It was a deal where they were going to front me a large sum of money if we agreed upon some terms. I remember experiencing emotional turmoil a few days prior to walking into the meeting. not enough to stop me, but turmoil nevertheless. It appears it was caused, and my body revealed it, as body is an expression of mind, what I was doubting, which was my team's ability to deliver on the terms. I was subconsciously identifying with that doubt. It was a partnership to service some of their clients under their brand, with my team servicing their clients. So this subconscious doubt identification was actually communicating with me through my emotion. As I always say, emotions are messengers. They reveal to what you are identifying with subconsciously, and I always recommend making peace with what is revealed in the moment so you could let the emotions be. This way you don't create unnecessary suffering by suppressing them as you go about your life. So I ended up doing many deals over the years, but never subconsciously identifying with that doubt again, because I found peace with it by having a conversation with it. So let's discuss how you can do this as well, if you'd like. Now, there's a wonderful book by American psychologist Mildred Newman. It's called How to Be Your Own Best Friend. I recommend it highly. She says, often we think we're responding to actual people and events. We're merely assigning them parts in the inner novel we've been writing all our lives. We see subconscious doubt-based identification is formed based on experiences we had in our past, which, for whatever the reason, we planted those seeds of doubt in our mind. The reality is the past does not have to define how you experience your world now and the various aspects on the journey to realizing your vision, such as the model here. Sure, doubts may pop up in mind, but there's no need to identify with them if they are not valid for the vision. So how we emotionally relate to our experiences is important because it reveals what we are subconsciously identifying with. See, if one experiences unnecessary suffering as a result of doubt identification in mind prior to a performance or going about whatever they'd like in life, I recommend seeing it as an opportunity to build a relationship with yourself. Because opportunities where you can be your own best friend will also, as a result, manifest as healthy relationships with others. You'll observe as unnecessary approval seeking and validation seeking will stop. So as I mentioned, what I did was identify this subconscious doubt and had a conversation with it from the premise of my vision, and it no longer shows up now. How I emotionally relate now, prior to going to these events, is genuine bliss because I get to do what I really want to do. And whoa, the magic that occurs as well via the power of the subconscious mind. During the presentations, for example, or conversations, people transform as I'm not carrying doubt into the interactions, suppressing. It does not exist in mind during these experiences as others reflect our state. So over the years, if doubt showed up for whatever the reason may be, I'd let it pass. However, if it seemed to persist, I may pour a glass of wine and have a conversation with it, such as how Napoleon Hill did in his book, Outwitting the Devil. So let's go through an example. Let's say doubt seems to suggest that others can prevent one from living how they want to live. Well, let's have a conversation about that. And you can apply self-talk here. So let's actually work with some language patterns inspired by Robert Dilts. And by the way, I have another video where I go through 14 of them. If you'd like to see some examples where I go through all 14 of them, I'll link in the description to a video where I discuss. So I may initiate the change with, So, is what is being suggested here that others have power over me by what they say really how I want to live? Now, as you do this, be aware of how you feel. You'll notice that you'll actually feel more at ease. This allows the following to occur. Number one, releasing that belief identification. And number two, building a relationship with yourself. Now, the benefits of being your own best friend are infinite. One of which is you will actually trust and listen to yourself rather than allowing doubt-based beliefs or opinion identification to manifest as unnecessary suffering. And you'll also find that you'll deepen your relationship with your subconscious. And it will be easier for you to suggest to yourself and accept the suggestion without mental chatter arguments, because how could that even exist if you are your own best friend? So let's continue this conversation. I could say, how is this actually true or valid? A lot of times the doubt vanishes right there. You see, I'm not afraid of doubt. I want to understand doubt for many reasons. One of which is that doubts give me plenty to talk about in these videos, reference experience. Or I could say, well, over the course of my journey, I already see myself looking back and acknowledging how many areas of my life have been transformed by listening to myself a little bit more so each day beyond these doubt-based ideas. Or I know of others who are living exactly how they want to live because they have acknowledged the power has always been within. And the very fact that I'm having this conversation right now proves the point that I am already listening to myself, understanding myself, trusting myself. Now, as we go through this, I want to emphasize that these are language patterns that are designed to speak to the subconscious and awaken realizations which dissolve the doubt. So if they don't make logical sense, it's okay. It's more about how we feel. Talk to yourself in a way that you understand. Also, applying it this way silences the rebuttals, because remember, our objective here is to live how we want to live and not allow doubt identification to stifle our flow. It can only stifle our flow if we identify with it. The doubts will soon not show up, or if they do, you'll let them be without identifying or dwelling in them. And they'll disappear, as we discussed in the 7-Day Mental Diet video. I'll put a link in the description to it. I like this one here. It's called Counterexample. I've seen the effects before of being fixed to dogmatic ways of thinking. Are you encouraging this? This one's a lot of fun. Intent. Well, you know I'm not denying any resistance. I'm encouraging that it has become easier to do what I want. Apply to self. Oh wow, thank you for sharing this with me. Where were you before? Chunking down. How specifically is this doubt valid to my vision? So as I'm going through this with you, consider it to be conversational. A lot of times end up combining a bunch of them into one. For example, I might say, you know what others suggest is actually what I'm suggesting to myself about what others are saying, and I can choose what I suggest, so how could they have power over me? Since the universe is a mental projection, I'd like to test out moving forward, and by doing something different. It will always work as it releases me from dogma, and that is worth acknowledging. This allows me to be how I desire to be. I can think of a few others who share this perspective as well, and they live how they want to live. Thanks for sharing this with me. The fact that you and I are talking is the start of greater abilities I'll discover by speaking with you. Reminds me of the Joseph Campbell quote, "Where you stumble, there lies your treasure." So if you seem to mentally appear through a psychological stumble, I know you have some treasure for me. Thank you. So we see then how powerful this is. You can be your own mentor, consultant, mastermind, and everything. This is actually what Napoleon Hill used to do in the Invisible Counsel chapter of Think and Grow Rich. This is my variation of it, and it's amazing how transformative it has been. I trust that by applying this, it'll be the same for you. So let's go back to our model here. You, which transcends this model, as you are awareness, is formless, and you give form by what you are conscious of being. You accept your own suggestion, and the subconscious takes care of the rest. It reminds me of Matthew 6:6 in the Bible. But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you. So when you enter your room, which is your mind, imagine a vision or speak what you want and accept it as done. Everything else is taken care of for you. You'll observe the changes, and perhaps you may wonder, as I do sometimes, am I doing anything? It seems that everything happens automatically to reflect the vision. Environments changing, behaviors and capabilities changing. And if subconscious doubts are brought to the surface, no need to react or suppress the emotion. Let them be and carry on an inner conversation with yourself from the premise of your fulfilled desire, as we discussed here. And they no longer exist in mind, and everything else gets taken care of. You'll see the unnecessary force, control, and suffering stop, which was generated from the doubt-based belief identification in mind. In the Hermetica, it stated that 2 gifts were bestowed. They were speech and mind. And with your conscious inner speech, you fill up your blank mind, closet of your mind, as Matthew 6:6. Leave doubt outside your mind and accept your vision. From there, everything is done for you. The subconscious mind takes care of everything. We allow it to happen. We let it happen by not forcing. The conscious mind is aware, but not controlling, as we discussed in Tuesday's video. And all your world will rearrange via the power of your subconscious mind to reflect your vision. So I trust you found this video to be helpful. Let's go ahead and conclude this with an auto-suggestion to further encourage. You could say, I realize there is nothing to fear in mind. I consciously choose to see my world with love by being my own best friend inside. I accept what I desire, and I allow the power of my subconscious mind, the infinite world within, to externalize my vision in all its vivid accuracy. Doubt reveals to me, upon conversation, the path to my treasure, and thus by my own inner speech from the premise of the fulfilled desire, which is now in mind, the subconscious rearranges reality as I observe the changes, letting it happen to represent my mastery of the 2 gifts, speech and mind. If you would like a copy of this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk with you soon. Take care.